Welcome to Practical Talk Time. I'm Sandy Wrobel, your host for the show. We have a wonderful guest with us back again from West Warwick, Rhode Island. Her name is Christina Kelly Hunter, and I'll tell you a little bit about her before we get ready to introduce her. She has a wide variety of experiences behind her and degrees. She has 2 master's degrees, one in psychology and another one in marriage and family therapy. She's a certified Pilates teacher, and she's a certified gyrokinesis apprentice teacher of the gyrotonic expansion system, which we have just done a filming of that will be aired also on Practical Talk Time. And she's a certified sport and fitness nutritionist, and she's a graduate of the Institute of the Psychology of Eating. I guess there's some psychology behind our eating. She brings her background in psychology to her coaching program, Mind Body Nutrition, the psychology of eating and weight loss, and her Pilates and gyrokinesis exercise students. She has offices in Branford, Connecticut, and East Greenwich, Rhode Island, and Wickford, Rhode Island. So she does come a distance, a couple of hours traveled, to come here and present to us a lot of her knowledge, and I'm so glad to have her back again. She is a nutrition coach. She assists clients with education about healthy foods, planning and nutrition, but also the why of your yo-yo weight loss. And I'm sure many of us have gone through that, where we gain and lose weight. We think we've done so well, and then we say, oh, it's so much easier to put the weight back on than to take it off. And she'll be discussing some things about food cravings and the wisdom of symptoms. Maybe there's some symptoms we should be aware of. And she uses the body as a teacher. I guess we need to listen to our own body. And the feminine psychology of body image and food, and the masculine psychology of body image and food and inspired eating. And I think that usually people are more critical about body images of women than of men. And FATS, she says, are FATS, fear, anxiety, tension, and shame. So welcome to the show, Christina.
Thank you, Sandy.
There was a lot to get through, and some of it I even skipped over. You're a wealth of knowledge and of practical experience. So we're very glad to have you back again.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure.
And what are you willing to tell us about today in nutrition?
Absolutely. What I thought I'd like to share with you today is a different view of nutrition. I thought we might like to sort of talk about a couple of the elements of body-mind nutrition. In particular, what I call vitamin R, relaxation, and vitamin A, awareness. And then I thought we could perhaps sort of talk about fats, fear, anxiety, tension, and shame. And then we'll have a look at a very unique and quite different view of looking at our food cravings. So I'm coming at this not so much around, planning meals or suggesting what we should and shouldn't eat or, counting calories, but more around the psychological motivations which go, hand in hand with our weight loss and gain. What are some of those psychological factors, those which are, more deeply ingrained in us, not so much our consciousness, but perhaps our pre-conscious and our unconscious. So let's have a look at, if you like, we could start with having a look at vitamin R, relaxation.
Which is hard for a lot of people, especially with people having multiple jobs very often today.
Absolutely.
Or if it's not that, if they're looking, they're not relaxed either. They're all tensed up looking for employment.
That's very true, yes. These economic times are certainly not sort of doing us any favors in any regards to our health, and in particular, our weight loss, our body image, and also, our general use of food, our metabolism, and how we can indeed, get the best from our food. This is very true. And of course, the word that we use, for where we happen to be these days is stress. So the opposite of stress is relaxation. And research has shown us, that, what we actually do need with our food, is to, be, in a state of relaxation. Before we mention relaxation, let's sort of have a look at the what happens to us when we eat, when we are in a stressful frame of mind or frame of being.
And if I'm stressed and someone says, oh, just relax, that doesn't help either.
No, it doesn't.
It just makes you more stressed.
Yes, isn't that remarkable how that happens?
Yes, yes.
It is.
So how do you get people to relax?
Okay. Well, what we want them to do is to understand actually sort of what happens, when we are stressed. That's the first thing, in regards to food. And when we're stressed, actually sort of what happens, the body actually sort of goes into the fight or flight response, which no doubt you have heard of.
Yes.
We get ready. And so what actually happens when we are stressed, our metabolism actually sort of shuts down. And it draws the blood to the muscles and also to the head, because what we are doing is we are preparing ourselves to actually be on guard or to attack. The body also, when it is in stress, what it will want to do very naturally, is I'm not going to metabolize my food. I need to keep it and save it, because we are in that stress fight or flight mode. So the metabolism is not working quite so well.
It's on a very primitive level.
It is, extremely so, indeed. And also what happens during that stressful time, and that is that, our insulin, also sort of tends to sort of get going, and the cortisol. And as we know, cortisol, is, responsible for our midline tummies that happen. And the midline tummy will indeed increase, with the more stress that we have in our lives. We know that from our research.
And I know a lot of people also who have lost weight, they will say that they just can't get rid of the belly fat.
That's very true too. Yes, I'm pleased that you brought that up. Absolutely. Yes. And if you think back on those people, if you know them, how would you describe them as being very relaxed people?
I don't think I know of many people. I mean, you seem very relaxed, but I don't know of many people that I would say are relaxed.
Right. Indeed, yes. We tend to hold our tension, and our stress. That is very true.
And I think sometimes we're stressed, but it might not even show outwardly.
Very true. Yes.
Some people might say to me, oh, you seem like you have nothing to worry about. They don't know me well, but actually it's not true, and I'm sure it's other people too. I don't think we can judge the book by its cover necessarily.
Very true. Some of us are better able at covering that than others. That's very true. Yes. But with food, let's get back to vitamin R, relaxation. When we approach our food, with vitamin R, if we can come to that table, in a mode of being relaxed, what we actually sort of find is, that our metabolism is more able and is more ready to fully digest, our food. In order to become, relaxed, what can we do? And that is one of the ways that we can sort of bring our heart rate down and be more present with what is on our table. And that is to very simply take, 5 or 10 breaths. And they don't have to be big breaths, and they can actually be in through the nostrils and out through the nostrils. So if we find ourselves coming to our table, we're a little agitated, what we can do is simply sit, our feet, supporting, our legs on the floor. Perhaps if we have an armrest, we may choose to use that, or simply resting with our hands on our laps and looking at the fair and taking 5 or 10 breaths. In and exhale. Inhale, exhale. But what we want to do, what will bring our heart rate down, is slowing down the exhale. And so what that will do is that will bring us, closer to being, present with what is going on, and it actually does indeed relieve the stress. Okay? And also, when we are having a meal, we need to be sort of aware in terms of, is this pleasant? Look at, what is going on at the table. Consider, the company that we have. Turn the television off. Make the table, make the plate, appealing. Endeavor to be present. So many people these days eat on the run. They aren't present with their food. How many times have we, or how many people do we know who are rushing out the door in order to get into their car to get to work, and
Yes.
they've got a bagel, kind of, they're chewing it as they're sort of grabbing for their keys. What is
I
happening?
hate to say it, but I remember rushing out with a candy bar in the morning.
That's absolutely right.
Talk about health and nutrition.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
And food that we eat in that manner,
Yes.
typically leaves us in an uncomfortable place. We find ourselves, our digestion isn't smooth. We feel very hungry very quickly, afterwards.
Well, when you get to work, you're so busy you don't have time till after the end. Then
Then you're famished.
yes, and grab for anything.
Again,
Yes.
that's right. And again, we're not relaxed because our body, is in stress mode. So what we're doing is, we're eating in stress. The body's in stress mode. When the body's in stress mode, it is we aren't metabolizing our food, adequately. We're not getting the best nourishment out of our food. And, what also sort of happens is, that it actually leads us into vitamin A awareness. So, and we can, as our discussion sort of moves on, we'll see how vitamin R and vitamin A, actually sort of fit together.
Well, I'm also thinking about the national movement now about eating better and so
Yes.
forth. And one of the things they don't really speak about is the family. I know when I was growing up, it used to be, dinner time was always everybody sitting down together and having dinner. And today, very often, there's so many activities, whether it's kids in Little League or softball or music lessons or whatever, I think many times every night of the week, and people are just eating on the run. They're not sitting down eating together.
That's very, very true.
They may be eating really good food,
Good
but
food,
on the
right.
run.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Indeed. So they're eating good food, but because they're, number one, they're not relaxed, so they're not getting the best out of their food. They're not getting the highest, quality of nutrients from their food because their bodies are in this stressed, place. And the other thing that you mentioned, indeed, is leads us into, vitamin A, which is the awareness. Who are we eating with? What is our presentation of our food? Is it something that we enjoy looking at? Do we have, the comfort and the connection, with others? Which also is a part, of the bigger picture of nourishment. Nutrition is more, than, taking in calories or taking in nutrients and vitamins. Our food is also sort of meant to nourish our souls, if you will.
It's interesting because I've heard think it was on the radio, that more people now are starting to go to restaurants where they sit down and have a meal.
Right.
And the consumption in the fast food restaurants has diminished some. There's been a shift.
Right.
I don't know what's causing the shift, or if people are more aware, or maybe that's the upside of people not having a job where they were under stress. You know, maybe they have a job with fewer hours now. I don't know. They didn't give a reason for it, but I thought it was an interesting trend that is occurring.
Well, I think the word is getting out there that, you know, fast foods are certainly not good for us. But also, I think, you know, the trend of going to a restaurant, you know, is actually sort of a good one. And, you know, maybe what's sort of going on with that is that we here in America are beginning to sort of pick up on what I call the French factor. If you've ever had the opportunity to go to France,
No, I haven't.
it's wonderful. And mealtime is a celebration. And what the French attitude towards the meal is that this is a time when we put work, our stress, our worries, our concerns to the side. The French don't do power lunches. What they do is they get together. It is a time, you know, to rest, to mingle, to relax, and to enjoy the fare. So, and you know, having a meal in France certainly takes a whole lot longer than what it does here. But what actually happens is you are nourishing not only your body, but also your soul. It is a time when we connect with family and friends. The cell phones are turned off. The briefcases are put aside.
That's interesting, too, because they talk about children becoming more and more obese and the school lunch programs, etc. And I'm retired now, but I had taught for 34 years.
Right.
And actually, the lunchrooms, the kids have to eat fast because they have to get the whole school through.
Right.
And they get like 20 minutes.
Right.
And then I think a lot of times that's how much of the food sometimes even goes in the garbage, because they have to get out, and then the next thing is they're going on the playground.
Right.
So as you're speaking about these different things, I'm just thinking in my mind about maybe there are other factors
Right.
in the problem we're not even thinking about.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Absolutely, yes. That was a very astute observation of yours to notice that. It is
Well,
very, very true.
Just thinking about work and
Yes.
what lunchtime was like, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and you have first-hand experience.
yeah, and it is stressful.
It is. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So all these kids, you know, are eating in stress mode.
Absolutely.
Because they've got to rush, hurry and eat that sandwich, get that juice, and, you know, because we've got to get out there, get, you know, our, you know, short
Even if
amount of
your lunch is made,
exercise.
yeah.
Right,
And most kids were buying lunch in the cafeteria,
right.
and they have to have their ticket or their money ready, and their coat
right.
with them, and, you know, they've got all this stuff
Right.
that they have to have out.
Right.
And even the way the cafeterias are set up, usually in long tables and benches, it's not
Right.
the prettiest setting.
True. Yes, that's true.
Do you know what French schools are like?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
I do
Okay,
not.
another project.
Indeed, absolutely. Let's go and test the field, shall we? We'll do our own research project. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
Oh, it sounds wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I diverted a little bit, but
Right. But also, what we want to take into consideration, and that is with vitamin A, with awareness, there is another factor which is also very important, and that is the cephalic, C-E-P-H-A-L-I-C, digestive factor. Cephalic actually means, you know, of the head or of the brain. And it is very important for our metabolism to actually exercise this cephalic digestive response in terms of looking at our food. Is the food appealing to look at? What is its aroma? What is its texture? How is it placed, you know, within the table? These are very, very important, you know, aspects, you know, that help us metabolize. And what our research has shown is that if this head factor does not register, our food, and it is appealing, if we don't have a little bit of that, desire in our eye, that little bit of watering in our mouth, the crackling perhaps of, a beautiful piece of steak that's hot on the plate. If we don't have that particular experience, what actually sort of can happen is that, having sort of eaten our meal, we will return to feeling hungry much sooner than later after the food. It is important, again, that not only is our metabolism, in our belly actually sort of nourished, but also the mind. That also needs to be fed in its own way.
So this would explain how a lot of people go on diets, but they really don't work.
That's right, indeed. Here they are with their little plate, and they've got, their 4 or 6 ounces of this and their vegetables, and it's all very bland and very lonely.
And that must be how some people say, oh, so-and-so eats everything, big meals, and they don't have a weight problem.
Exactly, yes. That is.
And then I was thinking, too, I don't use a microwave. I haven't in a couple of years now. I don't like them. But you hear people say, I throw it in the microwave. Even the vocabulary. I was just listening to you now is when this is coming to my mind.
Right, absolutely.
The idea of throwing the food and not preparing it. You're just throwing it in.
Yes, and we have lost that part of cooking, and preparing the meal, and that whole part of nourishment. And that is, the joy, of actually sort of preparing the meal. Remember as a kid when you would walk into perhaps your grandmother's home and, and it was lunch or dinner with grandma, and you could smell that aroma, and it did, you could taste the chicken or whatever it was, but it also brought a smile to your face, and you felt warmth in your heart. And that, unfortunately, that piece of nourishment, has sadly been lost along the way. Okay.
So what do you think we should be telling the audience? What else would be important?
Well,
we have 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay. Well, if we've just got this short time, what I'd like to do is to talk a little bit about a very unique way of, how we can, sort of get an idea of what's going on internally, psychologically, and that is what I call FATs: fear, anxiety, tension, and shame. These are some of the motivating factors which actually cause some of our cravings. So I just have a short list here, so I'm just going to very quickly throw these out to you. If you were to crave bread, what you are probably looking for is comfort and reassurance. Popcorn with butter. There's an issue around that you're probably procrastinating about, and there's a little bit of fear of failure going on. Nuts. We're suffering from tension and stress, and we probably need more fun in our lives. Let's have a look at roast chicken. We are seeking the warmth and comfort of home, just like we spoke about in regards to our grandmothers.
That would be something I would crave, would be chicken.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Candy, in general. We're looking for excitement and a sense of spiritedness in our life. Chocolate. Chocolate raises our serotonin level and has the capacity to mimic that feeling that we have when we are in love. And there's no mistake, that there is a relationship between Valentine's Day and chocolate. So,
and a lot of our holidays have chocolate.
That's very true.
Yes. Halloween, Easter.
That's very true.
Christmas.
Christmas, absolutely. Yes. Let's have a look at ice cream. Vanilla ice cream.
I love ice cream.
Aha. What flavor do you particularly like?
I like vanilla.
Oh, you like vanilla? Okay.
Chocolate sometimes, it depends. Strawberry sometimes.
Really? Okay.
Vanilla's my favorite.
Okay.
And I try not to have it at home now because
Okay.
I could eat the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a chocolate girl, actually, with
Oh,
my
really?
ice cream. So what we find is if you have a craving for vanilla ice cream, you are probably, seeking some kind of relief from some tension, and that you would probably feel as if you'd like a connection with a good friend. And for chocolate, there's usually a concern about love, and there's possibly a low-level depression which is lurking in there. So I thought I would just sort of like to share this with you, the fats index, because people don't really sort of think about, what is motivating me towards that refrigerator or towards the candy aisle. We just do it. But if we can just sort of take a moment with the craving, stop and ask ourselves, what is it that I really, really want? I think you'll find that, we are wanting something other than food. And that is the piece of our psychology that really does indeed need to be attended to, but that we see so very often in our eating.
And this has been researched. The
Indeed,
reasons.
very, very well. Very, very
Now that's something,
accurately.
if you go to a nutritionist or anybody with food, they might ask you what you're eating, but they never go into what
Right.
is behind it, like you did. I think that's fascinating. We have a little less than a minute left.
Okay.
So is there any other things, or was that the end of what you had written there?
That was the end of what I had wanted to sort of share with you today, but I also, specifically wanted you to have more of an idea about, the psyche and eating,
Right.
the psyche and food, more about, the deeper, reasons for why we do, what we do, why we eat, and what we are drawn to in regards to our food. And so, as we look after our body, we can also be taking care of our mind, hence mind-body nutrition.
Well, that is very, very fascinating. I'm so glad we were able to have you on. We do have to be wrapping up the show now, and we'd love to have you on again and hear some more. And it was very different about the dieting experience. And thank you very much for being on.
Thank you indeed.
Thank our viewers. And if you have any comments, suggestions, or if you'd like certain guests, if you'd like to write us a little email, we're at practicaltalktime@yahoo.com. And thank you for watching.